Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good, doing well. Had some technical issues I had to deal with on here, but we got them straightened out, lined up. Trying to figure out my new laptop here, but we got a good guest tonight on the show. Dear friend of mine. He's hit the woods with me once, and I don't know if he'll ever go back with me again. But it you have to take it with a grain of salt. Wherever you go in the woods, anything can happen. And quite frankly, I feel like that position that we were in, I would just say that my negligence probably was not the best. But I'm not going to keep y'all too long. There's just the new rebrand, Owens Outdoors. No longer Bigfoot reports and data. We're going to try and keep this a little short tonight. It's the weekend. Don't want to keep anybody away too long from the family. So we're just going to dive right in, and we'll bring out my good friend Robbie Ferrell.
Hey,
Robbie, how you doing tonight, brother?
hey, I'm all right. I'm all right.
Good deal, good deal. So for those that don't know, this is Robbie Ferrell. Robbie, give him a little bit of background about what you do and where you're from, and we'll dive right in, my friend.
Okay. I'm East Tennessee guy. I've been here my whole life. I've had several experiences, starting around 2017 with my first experience. Uh, had some pretty shocking realizations that not everything in this world is as it seems. I had experienced one of the most unusual things that uh, you'll hear about. And I know it's hard for some people to believe, but I did experience mind speak. I had something tell me it was time to leave. It was time for me to go. And I hung around a few more minutes because I'm trying to decide whether I'm losing my mind or not. It's not. It's only logical, right? Like you hear something in your head that you don't normally hear, and it's not God talking to you. You have to question it. I mean, you should question it, and I did question it. And I hung around for a few more minutes, and then I heard again, "Leave now" in my head, and I left. I was just out there trying to squirrel hunt, and then again, I had my first sighting of a Bigfoot or a forest person uh, in 2021, all days of Christmas morning, and I saw it walking through the woods plain as day. And it you can't you can't deny once you've seen one of these. And I can't make anybody believe it. You know, um, I have close personal friends who kind of give me a weird look when I try to talk to them about it. I'm trying to educate people. It's not, I'm not trying to. I'm really not trying to convince anyone, but I am trying to put a little education out there. Uh, these things exist; they're out there, and you could encounter one. And if somebody can give you a little heads up and say, uh, other people have had these experiences and we've learned from them, and if we can pass a little knowledge on to you that could help you, we're doing our part. Um, but there is a chance at any time that you step out that door, you could encounter something unique, weird. Uh, this world's a strange place, and I can honestly say, as a Christian, I put my faith in God, and He's kept me safe. I've been scared a few times, and we're going to get into that here in a few minutes. uh,
Yeah, definitely.
me and Harley, we met at the Gatlinburg convention a few years ago, and we hit it off. And I kept telling him, yeah, I'll go out with you sometime. And man, on the first time we go out, it's a home run. I mean, we we had a quite a little experience there. But
Yeah, I think it was a little more than a home run.
yeah, I mean, it's easy to laugh about it now. But we yeah we had quite the day, and I, I I had it's a little scary. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not the bravest person. I'm not a coward. I guess I'm pretty even, but I've told Harley in the past, I've been scared in the woods. But I'll go out with you. Once you've seen one of these things, you either run from it your whole life, or you want to find out more about it. And I want to know more about it. I don't know if you can call it a sick obsession or whatever, but I know it's real, and now I want to know more about them. I want to know why they are what they are. Where did they come from? What do they do? How do they do the things that they do? You know, by no means would I call myself a researcher. I'm a knower. I'm a believer. I'm a witness, and I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of documentaries. I talk to people like Carly, and I pick their brains, and I want to know what they think. And we're all just learning here. There are no experts in this field. I don't care if you got a TV show. I don't care if you've been doing this for 50 years. I mean, we're learners, and there are no experts, and you can't put one person above another in this field. Um, a lot of people I respect, and as long as you're good to us, we'll be good to you. And that's how we are. We're just good old country boys. Um, we're not trying to put us up above nobody, and we just want to be friends. And I mean, Harley's caught a little bad love in this business, or if you want to call it a business or this field. Um, but the man's genuine. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing with him if I didn't believe he was 100% genuine. And I'm just glad I can call him friend.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that, and well, you hit the nail on the head. We hit it off ever since, and I'm just glad we made the trip happen, and it was special to have you out there, and it definitely opened my eyes to the true respect that we need to have for these things, and not overstay your welcome. And like Robbie said, I'm not in this to prove it to anybody. I know they're real. Robbie knows they're real, and I'm pretty sure everybody that's watching this either believes or knows that they're real. So I don't have to prove it to anybody. My main goal is, as Scott Carpenter was doing, raising awareness for this stuff, and that's exactly what I'm doing. You all could think that I'm a loon or whatever. That's on you. So I'm genuine, as Robbie said. So we're just going to kind of dive into what happened September 28th. I was supposed to leave to go to work, and I ended up leaving later that night. So I texted Robbie, and I said, you want to go? He said, yeah. So we hit the woods probably about a little bit before 2, maybe a little after. It was a little after 2, wasn't it?
A little after 2. I was running. After. Yeah.
It was a little after 2. And, we were talking on the way there, and we get to the location, and this area, without trying to give too much away, and the confessionals, I kind of gave a little bit too. Well, I didn't. Glenn didn't, but Glenn, if you're watching this, I love you. Glenn was on the confessionals with me, but this area, when you turn off the main highway, you turn on the trail, and as soon as you start to go up the trail, maybe a quarter mile, half a mile, there's these little pull-off spots. So that's what we done. We pulled off on a little pull-off spots, and I wanted to take Robbie on a walk through and show him everything. So I kind of let Robbie talk about us kind of showing him. And I'm going to try and see if I can pull some of these pictures up.
Yeah, we took a pretty good long walk. We go off trail some. Found some interesting stick structures that we think that possibly some smaller, younger Bigfoots may have been practicing or doing or imitating what the adults do. And we got on up into the area where we found a lot of the evidence, and we found, I don't know, I hate to say we lost count of tracks that we found on this one.
Yeah, I lost count myself.
I know there was at least, I would say at least 15. Not much was castable. The ground was very soft. It rained the day before, and they. I know, we have been some of the pictures I think you're going to show. Definitely, there was a lot of 19-inch tracks, and that's a big foot, guys. Um, and this place is so far off the road. There's nobody up there goofing around. I mean, it's a good bit off the road, and if you don't know where the spot is, you don't know. And so the chances of somebody knowing that we're going to be there to try to hoax or fake something to fool us, there's about 0%, and we were having a good time. I mean, we were, but it was pretty obvious once we got into the spot, they were there. I mean, we could hear them. They weren't being real loud, but once you get away into that environment and there's no background noise to filter through, you hear everything. And we were deep in some laurels, and I don't have the best hearing because I was dumb when I was younger, and I didn't use hearing protection lots of times when I should. So my hearing's not the best in the world. And I heard clearly multiple times we were being followed, and they weren't far away from us. They kind of escorted us in, and the whole time we're like, we acknowledge it, and then they start tossing a few things. I think it was walnut shells.
Yeah.
Probably a few small rocks got tossed our way. Nothing violent, nothing ugly, but that's the first time I've ever had anything tossed at me. So that was new for me. I was like, okay, this is going to be a little different today. And I went looking in the woods by myself a few times. Like I said, I'm not a researcher. I'm really not. I'm just curious. And so it was pretty wild for me. Like I can honestly say that Harley showed me a good time because I'm not used to all this activity. I get a little activity here and a little activity there, and but nothing like this. This was something else.
It was definitely a special trip. For it to be kind of last minute. Well, we kind of had it planned out. I think I messaged you on a Friday or a Saturday. I can't remember. I know I messaged you a couple of days before, and we had planned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was somewhere around in that frame. And and I didn't really have much expectations, because I had been out there maybe one or two other times since I had moved to Middle Tennessee, so I didn't really expect them to recognize me, but I guess they did. And I don't know whether they liked Robbie or if they were mad at me, so it's hit or miss. But I can't get my pictures to pull up on here, which is weird. But I have them downloaded on here, but they're not wanting to pull up. It says the file's too big or something. I was going to try and see if I could show them on the screen, maybe doing this. I don't know, but these are the little stick structures that Robbie was talking about. You can see how these sticks are all tied in there together. Here we go. Here's a better angle on it. Yeah. So all those sticks were all broken and made like little TP asterisk looking deals. And that was pretty interesting to find. Normally, and that's one thing that I've learned while doing this. You don't want to always look for the bigger stuff, because the little ones, if they're learning from the adults, they're going to be doing the same thing. I don't know why these ain't pulling up. This is really, really inconvenient that these aren't wanting to pull up. So we get up to where this cemetery is, and then that's when we start to head down into this holler. And for those that have heard me talk about the the Operation Smoke that Doc Brown is making from back in April when we all went out there. This is the same place. So where Operation Smoke took place, this is the exact same place. We get down through there, and I'm showing him there was a bigger tree that was broken, and it was placed up about 20 foot, perfectly balanced in between those other trees. So that tree,
25,
it was down in that flat where we were walking, but it was uphill and it was balanced in between those two trees. And then that's when you have to take your discernment, and rule out, how does that happen? That tree did not fall and go uphill to be placed in those trees. That's just not physics, and gravity don't work that way. And so we get to pushing our way further down in through there, and we get to where this big fallen pine tree is. And this big fallen pine tree you're going to hear me talk about the big pine tree again. So we're walking through there, and the sun is coming over the ridge behind us. And I can't remember I think you said you heard something up on that ridge behind us. And then as I looked from that there was a shadow moving along that ridge behind us. And I said, did you see that shadow? I can't remember if you said yes or no, but there was definitely a shadow there that was moving from behind us. And it wasn't mine. I mean, you could see clearly that I had a hat on that trip, and this did not have a hat. So then we get to pushing down in there a little bit further, and then we come to where the arch is. There's a big arch that's right over top of a freshwater spring in this area. The spring comes out, and that arch is right over top of it. And I always talk about this arch because from where it's at, if that tree is standing straight up, there's no way that it got bent over and pinned underneath a tree that was already there and dead. So there's no way that's when your discernment comes back in. And
because that's the top of that tree is a good 40 feet over that ravine or that dip, whatever you want to call it. There was nothing that could have fell and pushed it over to where it is.
No, there's nothing whatsoever. Something either climbed up there and pulled it over to where something else could pin it in there, or something just really big just done it all in one go. And this next part, I'm gonna let Robbie talk about what we had found down in the creek in the mud.
As we got down in there, I hear Harley get excited. He's like, "No way! Come here and look at this." And you could clearly see where something had mashed down into the mud, and we were trying to decide at first that something fell. And then Harley takes over and gets a right over it, and clearly there's a handprint in the mud, and it is obvious. I mean, I don't know. Harley can maybe pull it up on his phone and show you there, but that print is double the size of his hand, but it's clearly a handprint.
Oh yeah. Right, I mean, right there you can see the thumb, and then what would be the index finger.
And there's the ground leading up to this spot was tore up. I mean, there's something. We were trying to determine whether it might have been a deer or a bear, but it looked like something had taken something down right there.
Yeah, it just looked like a big mud wallow.
Yeah, and it looked like a landing, like something had smacked down right there. And we're discerning that probably something came out of those laurels and possibly tackled something right there. And we found a few deer prints in that area, and I'm thinking they possibly one chased the deer up the ravine, and the other one may have ambushed it as it got up to that spot. The ground for probably 70 yards below that was just all tore up.
I think it was more than that, because it was a pretty good ways down through there before we got to that big opening down there where the hollers intersect.
And we even found what we believe to be a mountain lion track down in that area too. It was 5 inches. Was it 5 inches by 5 inches?
Yeah.
I know we got pictures of with the measuring tape with it. And I'm not a cat expert, but it looked like a mountain lion track to me. It's too big to be a bobcat print.
And it wasn't a canine because there was no claw indications.
Yeah.
Without the tape. You can see the toes real good right there. Well, I don't know why it's having a glare, but it was definitely a cat track.
We were pretty excited, and we were pretty vocal. We weren't sneaking. We weren't. We were. Maybe that's why they didn't like me. Maybe I was a little too loud for them.
Well, that may have been it. It could have just been different things, And then it was after we found the handprint or somewhere around in there. You said something along the lines of, I think we need to go, and I said something about needing to leave a little bit earlier to go to work, but I didn't want to.
I was trying not to look weak or sound scared, but I just had that little feeling that we'd been there a little too long. I don't want to say I have any kind of senses or I'm gifted or nothing like that, but I think sometimes you just get a natural feeling. Your natural, I don't want to know if it's your sixth sense. I was starting to kind of pick up on a little vibe, I want to call it, that we've been here at this point a good hour because we went in really slow, and we were checking for tracks everywhere, and we just kept finding tracks, and we knew that once we were hearing them, we knew they were there. From I don't know what, 10 minutes in, we were hearing them on both sides of us. We were being escorted the entire time, and I wasn't per se scared at that moment, but when that what they're capable of. I mean, they're huge, and I was, of course I'm armed, and I've got rounds in there that are supposed to take down grizzly bears. So I'm not super scared, but I just got that little feeling maybe we need to start heading back.
Hang on, I'm typing in chat. Tim asked what time we was out there. We was out there from about 2:30, 2:15, 2:30 till about 6-ish, 6:30-ish.
I think it was right at 6.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, it was about right at 6 or a little after when we left there. It definitely started to ramp up after we went further down in there, where the swampy area was. And from there back, all the way back, it felt like, to me, honestly, it felt like it slowed down, like the time. Everything just felt like it was taking forever to get back out of there. I don't know if you felt that or not, but it felt like it to me. Something was definitely off to me about the time.
I can't say that I felt that way, but I kind of I didn't want to be there in the dark.
Yeah,
I knew that. Like I said, and I'm not. I have lights and flashlights and stuff, but that's electronics seem to fail sometimes around them, and that's part of what do you call the woo factor, and a lot of people are like, oh sure, I've multiple times from people I trust, electronics sometimes just fail around these things, and I would love to know what that's all about, because I've always, I started out just at Nephilim. I thought these may be the descendants of the Nephilim. And I don't know where I'm at now, because I know it's like Josh from Mysteries Unknown. He says, the more you learn, the more questions you have. And I would love to be able to just nail something down and say, this is what I think. I kind of feel like they're a people. I don't think they're an ape. I think they're some type of people. Be that from here, someplace else, but they're smart. They are really smart.
They're
And
a lot smarter than we are.
when you're in the woods, you're in their house. We walked into their house, and they let us be there for a while. So I really do feel that at a certain point, we got back up to pretty much where we found the handprint, and that's when things started to kind of ramp up.
Yeah, that's when the knocking started.
Yeah, I think you had done a couple of whoops.
Yeah,
And
I never normally did that, and I don't know why I done it. I just I never did that. I never. Whenever I'm out there, I never do it, and it was just like I'm going to do it, And then after I done that, bow, 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 and I was like, and I looked at Robbie and I said, "Those are knocks," and then it just ramped up from there. Like they just kept knocking, and then we start to make our way almost back to the big fallen pine tree. We were either there or a little bit before it, but I know we were close to it. And then that's when you hear, and I turned around in the direction of where that noise was, and I see a big arm come up, and it has that limb in its hand, and it tossed it, and you can hear it crashing. I was like, it's about to get real. And I'll let Robbie talk about what happened next.
we moved on up a little bit further, and I had been behind Harley up to this point, and I moved on ahead of him a little bit, and I'm trying to film a lot of this on my phone, and it ended up the videos were so long that it won't let me send them. But I wish the when that break happened and the look on Harley's face, it was like, ooh, like I wish I could show that to you right now. But I moved up ahead of him for some reason, and I'm trying to get video all around us, because sometimes you can go back and see things and later on that you missed. And then all of a sudden, we were told we weren't welcome. There was a big one, and I'm assuming he's a male, came busting through those laurels. And at this point, I'm video. And I assume I have this on video at this point. Mm-hmm. And Harley goes, go, Robbie, go. He's right behind me. Go. And, I ain't the most athletic guy, I'm trying to get up that bank a little bit, and I look over my shoulder and I see Harley's face, and then over his shoulder I see a black blur coming at us, and I'm like, holy crap. And I'm trying, this is not smooth terrain, and I'm trying to kick boots up through there, and then Harley's like, go, Robbie, he's right behind me. And I'm like, I'm going, brother, I'm going. And then we finally made it up to the top of the bank, and this thing is growling. It sounds like he's beating his chest, and he's snapping laurels. And, it would take 3 or 4 whacks to get through one of these things with a sharp machete, and he's breaking them as he's coming through. And, it's one of those come to Jesus moments. It looks like this is real. These, you can go out there and 50 times and nothing happened. And you can go out there and then, have a mild interaction. This was not a mild interaction. I think this was, it's time for you boys to get out of here. Now, could he have put hands on us? I'm pretty sure he could have.
If he wanted
I'm pretty sure this was just to get out of here. And he wanted to make sure we got the message. I do believe, as athletic as they are, as big as they are, as fast as they are, I could have looked over my shoulder and he could have been dragging Harley back into them bushes. I mean, He was escorting us rudely. It was as if he was poking us in the back and going, "Go, go, go, get out of here." And then we finally pop out of the laurels. We're back up on top of the bank, and we turn around, and I look at my phone, and my phone's off. I've been recording most of this whole time. My phone is off. I can't explain it. So I click it back on. I click it on video, and I turn it back up there. And at this point, we're probably 80 yards, and he's standing up there on the bank looking at us. He made sure we got up there, and it's not the best video, but I mean, you can clearly see there's a big dark object standing there in the trees, and we were like, "We're going. We got the message. We're going." And at that point, that's when I finally drew my gun. And climbing that bank, I didn't even think about the gun. I just went up that bank. But once I got up there and I got my breath, and I got, oh crap, I've got a gun. Like, this could be real. We're not out of the woods yet. We got a good piece to get back to the truck. And at that point, I looked at Harley and I was like, "You're packing, right?" And he goes, "Nope, I didn't bring it." And I was like, "Oh crap, okay." So some people call me the Boy Scout. I always try to be prepared. I had a backup to my backup. So I handed Harley my 9mm, and I had a 10mm with bear rounds. So I'm like, it probably won't take him down, but it might get him to back off. So, we'll just cover each other on the way out. And I told my daughter, she's a runner. She does cross country. I said, "You're going to be proud of Dad." I said, "That's probably the fastest I've covered a mile since high school."
We were moving.
We were booking. We didn't run. You don't want to look like prey. We walk real fast. We had a pretty good skill. Yeah. And then I'd say halfway down, I got a wicked cold chill that ran down my spine, and I was like, hold up, we got to check our six. Something's off here. And we stopped just long enough to really inspect our surroundings. I didn't see anything, but as like I said, we got a good skip going down through there, and it's hot. And for me to get a cold chill out of nowhere like that was odd.
Yeah, it was in the 70s, like mid 70s, and I felt it a little bit, but I definitely felt there was a presence on that right hand side of us. That's definitely where it was coming from.
Yeah, I think we got escorted all the way back. Nothing that I could look over and see. Thank God, because if I looked over and saw one of them shadowing us through the trees, I'd have probably lost my crap. I had a grip on that gun so tight. I've got arthritis in that hand anyways. I had to take muscle relaxer and a pain pill, and I barely slept that night because my hand hurt so bad. I gripped that gun. I mean, I don't know if the devil himself could have took that thing out of my hand, but for that entire, I know it's probably about a mile. I mean,
it's at least over a mile.
Yeah, I mean, I had a death grip on that thing, and I was praying I didn't have to use it. Don't get me wrong. I go armed to defend myself, and in no way do I ever want to shoot one of these things. I would do it if as a last resort, but I think if you did manage to get lucky and get a good blow on one of them, the other ones are going to get retribution on you. Your chances of getting out of there are going to be pretty low. God himself would just have to want you to get out for you to get out.
Yeah, that's
and
exactly
right. God was definitely watching over us that day. Because, like I said, we ain't rocket scientists. We're just country boys out trying to find something. But I think we were lucky. I really do believe that we were lucky. I don't think he wanted us dead. I think God was watching over us, and we got a lot of excitement in a hurry, real quick there.
That was definitely a eye opener. As I said earlier, it makes me have a whole new respect for these things. And yeah, I go out there by myself. And it easily could have happened to me when I was out there by myself. And that it hasn't happened until this day, and it's just why now? Is it their mating season or something? Did he have food or something? Were we disturbing his dinner? Was there a little one nearby? I mean, the ultimate issue is, you really truly don't know.
Yeah, we're just taking an educated guess. I kind of feel like that might have been a kill site that we discovered, and maybe they just wanted us to leave so they could eat. They're like, "Hey, we got a warm meal here. If you guys would get out of here, you know, quit disrespecting my house." That could
Yeah,
have been
that's
it. It could have been mating, mating thing. I don't know. That's just like you take a piece here and you take a piece here, and you just start trying to build that puzzle, and you try to figure out, okay, we had a bad interaction this time, but we've never had one before. What was different? Well, this time I was with you, and maybe they're used to you, they're not used to me. Maybe I rubbed them wrong. I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe my cologne didn't smell good to them. You don't know. Try not to stink
Well, I mean,
y'all.
that's the thing. And
Maybe I
that's what I'm
shouldn't wear
saying.
cologne.
If I came out with you to where they're used to you, who's to say they wouldn't have done the same thing that the ones that's used to me done would do to, like, it's just so many different things, so many different variables.
Yeah, that last one that I saw here, he was just lurking. And if the motion light hadn't went off, and I don't know what set off the motion light, because it wasn't the one near him, it was the one behind him. Maybe a rabbit or something ran by it and set it off. But if that motion light hadn't went off, I would have not known he was even there. And it backlit him, and I could see, just enough to see the edge of the shoulder, the head, and the arm. That was all I could see, but he was right up against my building and in the dark shadow. That's the only approach you can make that my motion and cameras won't catch. So that's intelligence. That it came
Yeah,
in the
that's
only
more than
blind spot that won't set off the motion lights in the cameras. And I listen to Scott Carpenter. You put your cameras and your motion sensors where they cross in a cross pattern, and you create a virtual fence. And it's still speculation, but we assume that they can either see the beams or something, because anytime that people are having activity and they put up motion lights and cameras, 9 times out of 10 it stops. So uh, they were getting a little too close for my liking. And no matter what my curiosity is, okay, this is my house, this is my bedroom. So that's when I put up the cameras and motion lights. I put up the motion lights first, and I'd still see them go off, and I don't know if that was coyotes or whatever going through. But I would see the motion light come on through the window, and I'd go to the window, never see anything. And so we just decided to put up the cameras then, and I have yet to catch anything odd on the camera. Sometimes you'll get a random picture and you can't find any reason why the camera went off. I'm not saying that's supernatural or that's anything like that. It could have been a bird flew through and just tripped the motion, but it didn't get the bird. It could be something
yeah.
like that. I'm not saying everything's paranormal. I'm not saying everything's Bigfoot. You gotta keep an open mind. If you see Bigfoot everywhere you look, that's you. You know what I mean? You have to be objective. You have to look for all the reasons why this could be. And then when you run out of reasons why it could be, then you have to go, okay, this is something else. So, like I said, I'm not a
Yeah, it's
scientist, not a researcher. I just try to analyze and be analytical about it.
Yeah, you got to use that discernment, you know, to go through what you're looking at, and that's like the tree structures and all that stuff. Yeah, some of it is natural, you know, but there's other parts of it that's like that's not natural. You know, you can use your human brain to decipher what is natural and what is not, you know, and even when it comes to like the pictures, you know, I think ultimately they will only let you see them either when you've already seen one or if they are ready for you to see them.
Hmm.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, you know, people don't buy into the cloaking and none of that stuff, and you know, and that's fine, and that's fine. You know, I have not physically seen one cloak, but there has been times that I've been out there, and it's felt like there is a presence within 5-10 feet of me. You know, going through them laurels is super thick. You know, and
Yeah,
if they really can cloak, it's a perfect spot for them to.
yeah. Well, you know, my first
That's
experience, I had something run at me, and it sounded like 1,500 pounds about to just run right over the top of me. And I'm squirrel hunting. I got a 22. I spin around and the footsteps stop, and I feel like there's something there, but I can't see it. And you know, I'm like, I know I just heard the loudest footsteps I've ever heard in my life. In my head, for the split second I'm spinning, I think it's going to be somebody's bulls got out, an elk. You know, I've never seen an elk in my life, but I'm thinking, you know, this has got to be a massive animal to be making these loud footsteps. And then I spin around and there's nothing there. You know, so it was it was world changing for me. It really was. Um, and it's just made me more curious. I mean, after it scared me to death, you know, um, I want to know more. You know, I don't
it's a never
until some.
ending it's a never ending thing for knowledge in this, you know, and we'll never have all the answers.
Yeah, yeah, you know, I mean, it's a lot of people like, oh, this is a hoax. You know, they started this in the 50s out in California. The guy had these big wooden shoes and he'd walk around and, okay, well, why were Indians talking about these things up to 1,000 years ago? And Indian tribes all over the country and Canada, they all had a name for it. That's not always the same name because not all the Indians spoke the same dialect. But I heard somebody say one time there was 400 different names for Bigfoot. And some of the tribes said that, you know, they were aggressive and that they would take women and children. And then you had other tribes that said, yeah, up to a certain point, we actually traded with them, and we called them Big Brother of the Woods. So no, this didn't start in 1958. Uh, and lots of your old historical references, they weren't called Bigfoot because that name started in 1958, but
Mhm.
they were called wild men. You know, a lot of Bigfoot reports will say a wild man or a hairy man, and regionally they have different names for. 'Em. You know, each is like you know, like several of the they'll say the wild man of this area, you know, or the creature from this area, and I think lots of times they're all talking about the same thing, you know. So yeah, it's
You're exactly
this has
right.
been
There's no
going
such
on.
thing as a coincidence.
No, this has been going on a long time. We're not the first ones to experience this. We just have the benefit of technology that we can talk about it with each other and we can share things and you know, a lot of this used to be campfire tales. One hunter would tell another hunter, you know, you would pass it down from your family. You know, don't let the boogers get you. You know, I didn't know what that meant growing up. I thought, okay, that I guess that's just slang for a bad person. That's you know, a fairy tale. But you know, they've been talking about boogers for a long time, and you know, I don't personally call them boogers. I call them Bigfoot or forest people. I don't, you know, but I've always heard about boogers. Don't let the boogers get you. Don't be outside at night or the boogers will get you. That came from somewhere, you know. So,
Yeah, and that's the thing. Growing up, my great grandpa, he always told me about the boogers. And now that he's gone, he passed away when I was real little. And it's like, now that he's gone, it's like he was telling me about this the whole time. And I was just negligent and didn't want to believe it. I never did believe in any of this stuff. And then 2020, that shattered everything. And 3 years, I stopped hunting and fishing. And now I have opened myself to this whole new world, this whole new thing, that there's more out there. And it's just like, I think it's a part of a narrative that people are trying to push, that this stuff don't exist, when in reality it really does.
yeah, yeah. I watched
I
a
think
lot of.
Go
I
ahead,
watched a
Robbie.
lot of Steve Isdell. Steve Isdell gets into this stuff pretty deep, and I've listened to so many experiences, and a lot of it's the same, and then every now and then you get a new bit or a new piece, and I've heard him say that he believes that they've tried to dull our sixth sense. Someone's decided along the way that they don't want us using all of our brain, and they don't want us using all of our senses. And if you say, like, you go hunting one day out of the year, your senses of the wild aren't going to be that good. But if you spend 30 days a year in the woods, they're going to be even better. What if you lived in them? What if you're in the woods every day? You're going to start paying a lot more attention to that squirrel that's squawking. Why's that squirrel squawking? Or you hear a crow. That crow's going off. Why's that crow going off? Sometimes nature will give you little hints that you need to be paying attention to something. And you tune into that when you're in that environment a lot more. And that's where I give you credit. You're out there. You just don't talk about it. You're out there doing it. And I have a lot of respect for you for that. I don't get out in the woods much anymore. Like I said, I got scared out of the woods. And I used to, from 13, I was going out in the woods with 3 arrows and a little 3-inch pocket knife. I wasn't afraid. Worst thing I was worried about was running up on a black bear.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time in the woods alone, and even in my adult life, one of my favorite things to do was just to go hit the lake and explore and try to find new hunting spots. And I'd spend all day out by myself in the woods, and sometimes I'd just have a little 22 pistol with me. I wasn't afraid. But
No,
now,
we didn't have nothing.
one of the very last times I went hunting, I went to a different spot. I'm sitting there, and I'm resting. I got the barrel of my 30-30 in front of me, and I just kind of put my head down against the back of the barrel. Everything goes completely quiet. There's not one sound. And then it dawns on me. I'm like, that's not right. Something's watching me right now, and I need to get on up out of it. And I got up and I made my way out, and I haven't been hunting since. And when you've hunted for over 30 years, and that was one of your absolute favorite things to do, and now you just don't want to do it. Yeah, it's life changing. It really is. It's life changing. So, if you go out in the woods, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to. It doesn't change my life if you don't believe me.
Yeah.
My experiences are my experiences, and I had to live through them, and I'm the one that has to lay down at night with what I go through. And I wish some people could step inside my mind every now and then. I wish people could see what I see. I really do, because I know there's people that talk about me behind my back and go, "Oh, that Robbie, he's got these stories. He sees the things in the woods. I can't change that. And I'm a human being. Yeah, it bothers me, but I'm coming on here tonight and talking because I want everybody to know if you step out of that vehicle into those woods, there's a chance you're going to run into something. And you
Yeah,
need to
there's
know
no
that.
turning back.
There's no turning back at that point. When it hits you in the face, when this hits you in the face, you can't be the same person you were before. And there's like I've heard people say, don't look them in the eye. If you do encounter one, don't look them in the eye. They don't like that. Okay, that's some advice I'm passing on. Don't run. If you're scared, don't run. That's a prey instinct, prey predator. But just kind of drop your head a little bit, back away, and you can talk to them. I think they understand. Just
Yeah,
back away.
Let's see. We got a question from Figgy. How far was it from us, and how tall was it? I'd say it was what from being up on that hill, looking down into that holler. I'd say 60-ish yards, 70-ish yards, somewhere in that range. I'm gonna try and get back out there.
I'd say it's close to 80. I think.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna try and get back out there and get us.
Yeah. It was. I had to zoom in with the camera on it. You couldn't. When I turned the camera on, it wasn't like okay right there. I had to zoom in a little bit. So I would say it's 80 yards. That would be my guess. But
I'm gonna get back out there Sunday. I'm gonna get back out there Sunday and get the exact measurement, or at least try to anyway.
Now, when it was chasing us, it was closer than that.
Yeah, when he was chasing us, he was within 50 feet of us at least.
At least, yeah. But like I said, if he wanted to cover that ground quickly, he could. I really believe that he could have covered that in 3-4 seconds because I've heard people say that they, can run 30, 40 mile an hour. I can't run 30, 40 mile an hour, and I definitely couldn't do it in that terrain. 12
I got
mile
long
an hour.
legs and I couldn't do
it. I'm just glad you didn't pass me, brother.
I would have rather it got me.
Like that old joke says, how'd you get away from a monster with a 22? Oh, I shot the other guy in the leg. That's how I got away from the monster.
That's it right there. But yeah, I got another guy from over in Morristown. He wants to go out there, so I think Sunday we're going to go out there. If you want to come, you're more than welcome. But I don't blame you if you don't want to go.
I not that I don't want to go. I've already got plans for Sunday.
Oh, okay.
I gotta help my brother move. But yeah, I ain't gonna say that I'm like, yay, let's go back out there. I mean, but I'd go back out and back you up. I'd probably want my 12 gauge with me this time.
We can see what we can do about that. We'll see what we can do about sneaking a shotgun in there. Might have to get one of them foldable ones.
Yeah. Yeah,
break it down.
I got one of those little home defense style ones. It's kind of short, but
yeah,
I keep it loaded up with some heavy duty stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, is that one that's normally in the area and now he's just decided to be aggressive and mean? I mean, could it have been a rogue one? Like, there's just so many different theories and the thoughts that's just playing through my mind. Or, I mean, could he have been trying to warn us that there was something else there? I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, could there have been a dog man in there? Who knows? I mean, I don't. He knows.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to let us know clearly.
Well, that's with my first experience, that's what somebody brought up to me and said, well, if they were that close to you and he wanted you out of there, maybe he was doing it for your benefit. Maybe there was something else in it that was worse than him, and it was for your benefit that you leave. It's there's some weird stuff goes on in these woods over here. There's I don't want to get into a lot of it because some of it is there's some people that have not made it out of those woods. Okay, I don't want to get into a lot of it on here, but
Yeah.
there's not everybody goes in the woods comes back out, and it's just a fact. And
Yeah.
I used to roam these woods, like I said, 13-year-old by myself. But now I'm a little older and a little wiser, and I realize not everybody out there in this world is good people.
No.
There's some straight evil people walking around here, and there's some people that came here from other places, and they're not good people, and they don't have good
No.
intentions while they're here. So, we try to be good people, and we don't look at life that way, but not everybody's like us.
No, exactly right.
Didn't mean to go off
Hold
on a.
up. No, you're good, brother. Arkansas's two men killed this month by a bear, supposedly. And that's, I didn't know there was bear in Arkansas. Did you know that?
I don't know much about Arkansas, honestly, but
That's a Josh question.
Yeah, it does seem odd, and not only two deaths, but two deaths relatively close together. And
Yeah, that's
if I'm
odd.
not mistaken, from what I heard, was it also near a campground? Is that correct? I'm not sure on that. I'm wanting to think it was near a
Yeah,
campground.
that's a good question. I'll have to do some digging on that. Oh, he says we don't have a bear population. Red flags, people. That's a red flag. Thinks it's dog.
Hey,
I mean, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Bear, dog man. You look at a dog man, kind of looks like a bear, but it don't.
Yeah,
Ashes is from Arkansas. I forgot Ashes was from Arkansas. Yeah, Ashes Antics.
You remember on the way over to go out on that day, I was telling you about that story I saw where the guy's wife had been taken down up in Kentucky, and he said he didn't think it was just a pack of dogs that took her down. And I believe that was Knox County, Kentucky.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah, Knox County, Kentucky. Yeah.
Yeah. And 50, they said a pack of dogs.
Away from I'm pulling that comment up. Hang on a second. Yep.
50 miles from each other.
How does the same bear do the same attack within 50 miles? I mean, I'd imagine their territory is not that big.
The best I can remember, they're about 20-mile range is average. But, I'm no bear expert. But that's a pretty good distance, is 50 miles. I mean.
And that's the thing, like these unknown animal attacks or just chalking it up as a bear, like you can't cover it up really for too long. I mean, especially if you go and look on the map of like where these attacks happened at, you can probably rule out, really if it was a bear or not. Oh, looky here. Look who's in the house. Star Fox. Oh, that's not Star Fox. That's Ashes. We're Star Fox. Y'all go subscribe to Midnight the Camper feed. Why is it not? There we go. Yeah. So we're closing in on the hour mark. Don't want to keep Robbie up for too long. I'm sure he's got plans for tomorrow. I know I do. Got to go pick up the girls down in Middle Tennessee. They've been on fall break, so we've been children free for a week.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go pick up my parents, take them out to eat, and maybe go do something with them. I've been working a lot of overtime, and I'm not much Winnie's anymore. I'm starting to feel that stuff, But yeah,
I'm closing in on 30. Oh, hang on, we got another question here from old Johnny Bigfoot. Old Johnny Tucker. Y'all be sure to go subscribe to old Johnny. Have you had any other sightings?
Yeah. It's been a wild month. I spotted a big one in the woods near where I had my first sighting back in 2017. I was just coming back from my parents' house, and it was dusky dark, and lots of times I'll meet cars coming through there. It's a side road, but a lot of people travel it, and so I'm usually like looking right into headlights, and it really messes with my eyes these days. But I was coming through there. I hadn't met any cars, and my eyes are on the side of the road. When I'm not meeting anybody, and I saw a big boy. He was going from tree to tree, and I got a really good look. He was turned like this, and he was reaching. It looked like to go from one tree to another tree, and had it not moved, I would have never saw it. Uh, that's one thing in this area. They move when cars are coming, and I don't understand that. If you're trying to stay unseen, why would you not just stand still? You know, it's like a deer. Lots of times a deer blends in so well when they're not moving. And
Hmm.
but yeah, I guess there's just so many cars come through there, and nobody ever stops, or I don't know if they assume that people don't see them. And most
Well,
of
you
the
got to think
people
a
that
lot
are
of people's doing this.
yeah, yeah, you're coming through there. I mean, it's a little humpy, hilly road, and most people are driving way too fast and looking at their phones and talking to somebody, and you're just not paying attention. And he was 35, 40 foot off the road, and me and my son-in-law went down there and actually looked a little bit. That's I'm stepping out of my comfort zone here lately. I don't tend to go looking very often. Most of the stuff I found, I've stumbled across it, not looking for it. I've got 17-inch tracks basically in my backyard. Um, I wasn't looking for that. I just going out to the building, and I found a trackway that six tracks. The steps were 6 feet apart, 5 to 6 feet. Clearly, there was 5 to 6 steps, and the last step was a 17-inch print, easily discernible, 3 foot from my bedroom window.
You
You
got a
want to talk
video of
about?
that, don't you?
Yeah. There's a video of it. I'll send it to you. Maybe you can post it. Um,
Yeah.
when you realize that something with a 17-inch foot was standing right behind your bedroom window, that gets your attention. I mean, that was at the point when the cameras went up. You know, and I don't live off by myself. There's people around me, and we don't like talk or anything. We don't have that super tight neighbor kind of thing going on. I really want to ask people sometimes, like, hey, you been seeing anything? You been hearing anything? But then I don't want them to go, oh, the neighbor's lost his mind. Kids, don't talk to the neighbor. That's that weird guy down there. And I make knives and spears and stuff like that all the time. My wife goes, of course the neighbors don't talk to you. You're a redneck walking around with a gun or a knife or a spear or a machete. She said, of course they don't talk to you. You look like a weirdo. You know, haven't really ever thought about it like that, but yeah, I mean,
Hey,
it's
I
not
mean,
uncommon. you know, I've
you
always
can't
got
judge a
one
book
on my,
by its cover.
yeah. I mean, I could see how somebody go, that old weird guy up there, that old beardy guy, always got a weapon in his hand for some reason.
Oh lordy, man! Some people just they don't know what they're missing out on. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know a stranger. I really don't. Like, I'll talk to anybody and everybody. And it's just like, why can't other people be like that? You can't you
Yeah.
can't just judge somebody by the way they look, or like if I was your neighbor, and I didn't know you, and I seen you, having the machetes and shit, I think that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
just me though.
I'm the same way. I attract some people, like, especially if I'm out in public. I'll just have random strangers come up, and I'll have a 10-minute conversation, and we'll walk off, and my wife or my daughter will go, "Who was that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's the first time I ever met him." And like y'all had a 10-minute conversation. What do you mean you don't know him? Like, yeah, we just hit it off. Um, I don't know. I think we refer to it as a high vibration. Some people you just feel like you could talk to them, and I like that. Because people who have held on to their story for 20 years felt like they could tell me their story, and if anybody watching this, if you want to get in contact with me, if you tell me not to tell anybody, I won't tell anybody. If you want to get it off your chest and you need somebody to talk to, because I get it, not all your family understands. I've had my feelings hurt because people don't believe me, and it does psychological effect on you. So if you're watching and you just want to unload and tell somebody something, hey, I had somebody send me a really, really good picture, and I asked if I could show it to Harley, and they told me I could show it to Harley, but they didn't want any research done. They didn't want anybody coming to their property. They've not had any problems, and they don't want any problems. They don't want somebody coming down there and upsetting these people and having an adverse reaction. And 100% respect that. And, I told Harley right off the bat, they don't want you coming over. Not that they don't like you or nothing like that. It's just, everything's copacetic there, and they want to keep it that way. But that picture, within 1 second, I go, that's a face. And that's not a human face. It looked half ape and half man. And the nose was the very prominent. And I was thinking, I keep people saying, yeah, oh yeah. I keep hearing people say that, nose is more of a gorilla nose. This was not a gorilla nose. I mean, do you agree?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was human. Human-esque.
It was human-esque, but I don't want to go Neanderthal. It wasn't Neanderthal. It wasn't gorilla. It was a mixture somewhere in between. But the nose looked more human to me than any picture I've ever seen. And it was clear. I mean, the picture was taken from far away and it was zoomed in. But I didn't have to look for it. It was immediate. That's a face.
It caught my attention straight away. That's before I even clicked on the picture. I saw it. I didn't even have to blow it up and zoom it in.
Yeah. And that's not, I don't want to say where it's at, but it's not that far from where we were. I don't even want to throw a mileage on it because, like I said, I told them I wouldn't. I don't want anybody coming near them. So I won't talk. But if somebody out there, if you've had a weird experience and you need to talk to somebody, I'm sure Harley's the same way. If you want to get in contact with Harley and just ask him some questions and get something off your chest, and if you say, hey, don't talk about it, we won't talk about it. You know what I mean? If you say you don't want your name out there, you don't want your location out there, we want to help. We're not just doing this for fun. We're trying to help people. We're trying to educate people. We're trying to be there for people. We as soon as we got up the road a little bit, we called somebody. And a good friend of ours. We called him Dano from the Cryptid Podcast, and we're like we're making our way out. We may be escorted. We're scared a little bit. Our adrenaline's pumping, and he goes, "Are you good?" And I'm like, no, we don't know yet. We don't know if we're good yet. We're still making our way out to the truck, and we're still a pretty good ways away from it. And I said, we've got guns in our hand, and we're looking over our shoulder, and and he's like, man, okay, yeah, just I'll stay on here with you, and and at least if something got us, at least somebody would know.
Yeah, I told him thank you, and he's like, what for? I said, staying on the phone with me.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like I was just watching all around, and I didn't even think about, I'd already put my phone up, and at that point, I wasn't trying to get evidence. I wasn't trying to film our experience. At that point, I was just looking behind every tree and trying to keep up. But yeah, it's like I said, we're experiencers, we're believers, curiosity seekers, but at the end of the day, we're just people, and we want to help people. And contact us. It's fine. You want to private message me through Facebook Messenger? That's fine. You message me, and I'll talk to you. And if I can help in any way, I'll help. You know, we're just people here for people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right. I couldn't have put it any better myself. But apparently, my laptop is not charging and it's plugged in, but apparently it's just got 3%. So hate to cut
Yeah.
this one short, guys. We probably went a little longer than we probably should have, but that's all right. We had a good time. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. But
Yeah, you got to hang out with some people on Friday night, and have a good time. Hey, that's a good time.
oh yeah, absolutely. The biggest we found one back in July that was 30 inches. Actually, found 3 or 4 of them that were 30 inches. So, like I said, appreciate everybody. Appreciate Robbie for coming on tonight and talking about our trip. Definitely won't be the last time that Robbie's on the channel. We'll definitely plan another one. We're gonna plan another hike. Just still need. I still need a little bit to process this whole ordeal, but yet again, I was just in the woods last weekend in Alabama. That was a crazy trip. I'm going to try and get the gang on here for that, so stay tuned for that. But appreciate everybody. Y'all have a great weekend, and God bless y'all.
Thanks, guys.